Now this is just heaven on a plate. Here we have two different kinds of chicken enchiladas. I have a chicken enchiladas Verde, which is strictly a Mexican version. I have chicken enchiladas with a sour cream sauce, and that is very much Tex-Mex, okay? Side by side, same basic recipe with one final twist on this one at the end, just to set it off for a bit of Tex-Mex cooking. So, very beautiful dish, very elegant. It looks lovely, something that you would want to serve your guests. I'll tell you what, give this dish a try, and you're going to find something very wonderful tasting inside. Hello, welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode of Texas Cooking Today, I'm going to fix up something that is very tasty, very popular, exceptional. This is chicken enchiladas Verde. Okay, now you've heard of sour cream chicken enchiladas. Of course, a lot of people have. That's very Tex-Mex. I'm going to show you a way to take sour cream enchiladas and turn them into something special. But also, we're going to do a very authentic Mexican enchilada, which is the chicken enchilada Verde, and that's with the Verde sauce. And we're going to have some wonderful ingredients. I've got it all laid out here. Come a little closer and let's go over everything that we need. Now, for this wonderful tasting chicken enchilada dinner, we need some chicken. In this case, I'm going to be using a Cornish chicken. These little game chickens are wonderful. If you would like, if you're going to be cooking for more than 2 people, you might want to get 2 of these. Or also, you could use a regular chicken for this, roasting chicken. I like the delicate, tender flavor of these. Now, on our other ingredients down here, let's take a close look. I've got some tomatillos over here on the left. These tomatillos, you're going to want anywhere from about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of those. And, of course, you know, you can just weigh these out at the stores you're buying them. Your poblanos, you're going to want a couple of large ones or 3 of the medium-sized ones. And on those, you want about 8 to 12 ounces worth. And on the these jalapenos here, you're going to want anywhere from about 5 to 10 ounces of jalapeno, 2 to 4 cloves of garlic, about 4 tablespoons of the cilantro, and also a bit of salt to taste. Now on our other ingredients, I've got some wine, paprika, oregano, salt, and I'm going to be using olive oil also in dressing the chicken to make it wonderful to eat. Now, never cook with a wine that you wouldn't drink, so always taste your wine first and enjoy while you're cooking, okay? Now let's move on to trussing up that chicken, and we're going to get that boy all fixed for the oven. Now it's time for us to go ahead and get our chicken all fixed up. And the implements that I'm going to be needing here are some olive oil, salt, oregano, and paprika that we've already mentioned. And of course I've also added some cooking gloves. This just makes cleanup a little easier. You can do this barehanded if you wish. And a couple of pieces of string, one that is about 1 foot long, and one that's a little longer, maybe 16 or 18 inches. And what we're going to do is we're going to truss the chicken just a little bit. Now the idea here is, if you'll notice, the chicken, he's kind of all splayed out, and if I leave him to cook like that, then these wings are going to get really dry, and the drumsticks here, they're going to dry out also. So it's just not a really good way to cook this. If I could pull all that together into a tight package, it really helps to hold moisture in a whole lot better. Alright, now to do that, what we want to do is to go ahead, and I want to start by getting him olive oil. I need first, grab a pair of tongs, and I want to do the bottom side of this little guy first. This is his back. Just want to get him a little bit of oil. Don't worry about any oil getting in the pan, that's going to be fine. And what this oil does is it just adds a fatty layer. It helps to protect the chicken from drying out quite as quick. Remember, you want them to roast. You don't want to turn them into jerky. Okay. Let's turn him back over. Oops, got his wing caught. Good liberal coating all the way over. Good. Now, again, starting on the back side. Turn them over again. Give them a bit of salt. Some oregano, and in this case usually I'll measure out my ingredients, but in this case I just want a liberal sprinkling so it's a little easier. And the same thing with my paprika. I'm not afraid to use plenty of this. It's going to make a wonderful tasting chicken. There we go. Salt again. Now, some people like to stuff these and they use a variety of other herbs. There's many ways of roasting a chicken, but for this particular dish, I'm going to keep it on the simple side, and we're going to stick to some common seasonings and flavors of both Texas and of Mexico. This dish celebrates both. After all, a lot of Texas culture, a lot of our heritage goes right back to Mexico. So we can't deny it. And if we do, then we're just fools. Alright, now let's go ahead and get this little chicken all trussed up. Let's put our gloves on. And the reason I like to use gloves, again, it just makes the cleanup a lot quicker. All I have to do is pull these off, and I'm straight on to my next task. First thing I need to do is to deal with those wings. That's the hardest part in my book. The drumsticks are quite easy. Now on these wings, I want to slip this right under here, and I want to slip it around this wing, pull these back, and tie them just like so. You see how it pulls those wings down under his backside, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow the juices from this dish to drip right down into those wings, and it's going to keep them moist. Not to mention, it's going to add a lot of flavor to them, as if they didn't have enough already. I want to cut off that excess string, toss it aside. Now, right down here, my drumsticks. These are simple. To do drumsticks, you can pull them together like this and tie them. That slips loose on some people, so do yourself a favor and tie just a simple tie one time around one leg, just like so. And bring it to the other leg. And we'll repeat that process. I don't have to go all the way around the leg. So he wants to slip loose. There we go. Tighten that down. Give it one more loop. This is simple. Cut it. There we go. Get rid of my excess string. Now, what do I do with these wings the way they're sticking up? We'll take that tip and tuck him right underneath, and this tip and tuck it right underneath, okay? There. This is the proper way to truss a chicken, whether it's a little Cornish chicken like this or whether it's a large chicken. It's pretty much the same thing either way. And this helps to hold in juices, it helps to cook more even, and the flavors are improved just by doing this one little task. Now, let's move on to putting this in our oven. That's 375 for about an hour and 15 minutes, depending on the size of the hen that you have. It's time for us to drop our chicken in the oven, but before we do, we want to fix our pan so that it can produce a good quality gravy. Now, the reason I want this gravy is actually to rehydrate my chicken. First thing I'm going to do is pour in some of that wine, and I've poured in right there about 3/4 of a cup. Now, inexpensive wine, but it tastes alright. I want to increase the volume of liquid in the bottom by about 1 cup. And don't worry, most of this is going to evaporate. It's going to cook out, and you may have to actually put a little more in there. So this is ready to go in the oven. Let it cook. Now, where's that wine glass? it's time for us to process our vegetables. Now on some of these there's not much to do, like the poblanos and the jalapenos. We're not going to do anything other than throw them into the water. And the same thing on this garlic, we're just going to take our cloves, remove the paper, throw that in the water. The tomatillos need a little bit of processing. They need the paper on the outside of them removed. Now some tomatillos, when you get those, they'll open up easily, just like this. And that paper just floats right off of the top, okay? Now it's sticky, alright? And this is just the sap that's on it. I'm going to put that in a bowl because I'm going to wash all of these. Sometimes you'll get one like this and the paper is kind of stuck to it by that sap. And if that's the case and it doesn't want to peel loose, then you can just take it and put it under water, and when you do that, then that skin will come loose for you, okay? Excuse me, not the skin, the paper husk. The skin is underneath it. Now these things look remarkably like a tomato, okay? And they're often confused by for tomatoes. And they are related, however, it's not the same thing, okay? This is sweet and tangy, and it has a very very unique flavor to it. It also, the inside of it has a whole different structure to it, and the seeds are remarkably small. There's a lot of them. They run all the way through it, and you can't even strain the seeds out. Okay, I'm going to wash these now. Now, to get all of this cooked up, you're going to need a large pot of boiling water. So I have a large stock pot here. I'm bringing it up, it's about half full of hot water, and I'm going to be bringing that up to a boil. And we're going to boil all of these items in that water. Now, I'm getting our other ingredients ready to go in the pot. Of course, we just needed some of the garlic. And I'm going to simply push down in the top and break open that garlic. And looky there, looks like I pulled out the very 4 cloves that I needed. I give them a squeeze and a bit of a twist, and that paper comes right off of that clove. The cracking sound you hear isn't the meat underneath it, but rather just the paper, and you don't want to twist it so hard that you break it. You'll feel it flex a little. There we go. This way I have whole cloves that I can just throw into the water and boil just like that. Okay? Makes it very convenient. Our next item, we have the onion. Now, when we're dealing with an onion, certain things that you need to know about an onion and cutting into it. Of course, your stalk, and this is the root end. Now, if I cut into the root end, the fibers come together in a small way right here, and most of the liquid in this onion kind of centers itself right around the base here. So if I go cutting into this, then I'm going to have a problem with this thing immediately weeping juices. Those juices are going to release a sulfuric fume, and that sulfuric fume is going to make your eyes water, okay? So I'm going to avoid cutting into that. What I will do in order to remove this outer layer and to start the cut is I'm just going to take the top end off of it. I'm going to gently cut in a circle from here over to there, and I'm going to pull out this outer layer. There we go. Now, I have my onion opened up. The portion I need to use is exposed. To cut down on how much I'm going to be releasing that sulfuric fume, I want to break this into 2 halves to cook it. Now I can cut this and split it in half, and it's not going to be a major issue. There we go. I didn't do that until the last part, so it doesn't give me problems cutting into it. Alright, we have our ingredients all set up, ready to go into our water. It is just now beginning to want to come to a boil. It's not quite there yet. Getting a little steam off of it, and as soon as it breaks a boil, all of this stuff goes into it. Okay, it's time to put our goodies in the water. Now, so you will know, the items that are going to take the longest to cook are going to be the chilies, and then the next longest would be the garlic and the onion. And that onion's going to come apart in the boil, don't worry about that. And then our tomatillos. And what we're going to do is just keep cooking until everything is nice and soft. Now the tomatillos are going to take on average about 10 to 12 minutes to soften up. And you're going to know that they're ready because they're going to split open and they'll feel really punky and soft, okay? So real easy to know when those guys are ready. I've had my boil going on now for about 10 minutes. So what I want to do is to go ahead and open this up. And we're going to check those tomatillos. Pull this guy over to one side. And you're going to notice that these tomatillos have become very soft and punky. Any of them that are like that, go ahead and pull them on out. That one's real soft. He's soft now. See, it's a matter of moments sometimes. Now for the rest of this, we're going to give it 10 more minutes. Well, it has been the end of another 10 minutes. Total of 20 minutes altogether on these vegetables right here. I've just shut off the heat. And what I want to do is pull these out, put them in the same bowl. It's time for us to check our chicken. It has been in here for a little over an hour. In fact, it's been about an hour and 10 minutes. Okay. Let me go right in there. I am at 173.8, which is perfect, okay? This chicken is done. All I need to do now is to let it rest, and then we're going to shred it and put it down in these juices in the bottom and create something incredible. It's now time for us to make that wonderful sauce. I have here all of our vegetables, and they've kind of cooled down a bit. And back here, I'm going to be using what's referred to as a food mill. Now, so you'll know, one way that you can do these vegetables is you can take these and simply remove the stems from the chilies and toss all of this down into a food processor or a blender and just turn it smooth, okay? After that, you're very, very wise if you will go ahead and take a strainer such as this and run all of that material through it so that you can catch the larger seeds of the chilies as well as getting the skins caught. Otherwise, you're going to end up with skins and all kinds of other stuff down in your salsa, and it's not very pleasant. The beautiful thing about a food mill, it does all of that for you. Basically, you have a large funnel on a food mill with a handle and often some feet of some form, so it'll hang on bowls or on pots or whatever. And then in the bottom there are different strainers that go in there. This is great for doing a mashed potatoes. In fact, no better mashed potato can be made except, you know, with a ricer. And then of course a medium strainer, and then I've got a real fine one here. It's a fine sieve, and this is what we're going to use to make this. And even though this is fine sieve, which is every bit as fine as the mesh that you saw on that strainer a moment ago, it's still not fine enough to take care of the seeds from the tomatillo. They will go right through it. Now, let's place our paddle in here. And when you're hooking up a paddle on one of these, a couple things you want to know. The paddle has a metal side and then just an open side on it. And you want the open side to be close to where you're going to put the second retaining clip. Now you have these retaining clips here on your crossbar. Take your crossbar, hook it to one, depress that spring, and pull this over, and hook it to the other. And it slides in there real easy. From here, all I have to do is just to throw my ingredients in here and crank this a little bit, and it's going to produce everything I need. These things are inexpensive too. You can get most of them for under $100. Some of them for as low, I have seen for as low as about, what am I trying to say here? About $35, $40. And I'm almost to the point now where I'm ready to say, okay, my food mill has done what I wanted it to do. It's extracted all of the material I'm interested in removing. If I wanted to stand here and mill this down, I could turn this into just a set of dry seeds and skins. But at this point, I'm pretty much where I need this to be. So I'm just going to scrape the bottom. There we go. Beautiful paste. So we have chili and tomatillo paste here, and a beautiful sauce down in this bowl. Excuse me, in the pan here. And I want to take this and we're going to boil it up, but I have to add also some cilantro to this, if you remember. And in addition, I'm going to put some salt in it, and we're going to also add some extra acid to it in the form of lime juice. And you may be thinking, my goodness, it's already acidic enough. However, the lime juice will really bring out other flavors that'll make this whole thing sparkle. I'll tell you what, wait till you try this. Okay, let's get some heat under it. I want a medium-high flame. I'm going to bring this to a boil, and we're going to add our other ingredients. As I'm waiting for my green sauce to come to a boil, I want to go ahead and take my cilantro, and this is a neat technique that you need to learn if you're going to be cooking in the kitchen much, and this is called a chiffonade. And what I want to do is just kind of look through this and pull out any stems or stalks that I find kind of unworthy for cooking, or get them aligned where I need them. And I want to take this and I want to fold it just slightly. On just the upper green part, you can see on cilantro down here there's mostly stalk, and then the leaves start a little bit, and then right about halfway up they get really thick. And I want to take it about 3/4 of the way up and fold it back and over, and I want to gather those leaves together. See how I'm just rolling it a little bit and gathering and rolling? And what this allows me to do is to hold them all together, curve my fingers under, and I want to do a crab motion when I cut this. I want to move my fingers back like this as I go, just slowly, little crab motions like that. And it allows me to hold this together while at the same time I keep my fingertips turned under, and allows the blade to right against the side of my finger there. And I can just get a simple popping motion going. Keep that thumb behind the fingers at all times. Okay, mostly stem, a little bit of leaves, not a problem. Any thick pieces of stem I want to go ahead and remove. The small pieces of stem I want. Now, once I finish that with a rocking motion, I want to go back through my leaves just to reduce them down a little bit to small particles. I don't want stringy leaves in my sauce. The larger ones I'm going to gather to the side. There we go. Now, I have a good 4 tablespoons, which would be, you know, remember 3 tablespoons is 1/4 of a cup, so you're looking for close to 1/3 of a cup on the cilantro. Now here we are. Check out our green sauce. It's gotten a little foamy. It's definitely boiling. Start putting in that cilantro. Cilantro provides a wonderful flavor to this, and without it, this dish is really kind of devoid. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead at this point. We're going to add in that lime juice, and I'm going to put in some salt. And I want to put in about 1/2 to 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, just to start with, and then we're going to taste it and see if I need to adjust that seasoning off from there. But this first needs to boil, and I'm going to let it boil for about 15 minutes, and then I want to remove the cover, and we're going to let it reduce after that, and that's going to take about another 15 minutes. Okay? About a total 30-minute cook time is what's usual on these. If they're really watery, it could take a little longer. There we go. Now, it's just a matter of time. I'm going to reduce my temperature to a low, and that way it simmers. Now, our chicken has had plenty of time to rest, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull it out of this pan, set it on our cutting board. Now, if you'll notice, I'm setting this on a brown cutting board. If you're using a plastic cutting board, color-coded system, remember, brown cutting boards are for all cooked meats, regardless of what category, whether it's fish, red meat, or poultry. If it's cooked, it hits the brown board. If it is raw, it will hit one of the other colored boards. For instance, poultry, when it's raw, hits a yellow board. But never put it on a yellow board after it's cooked. See, when you go to a fast food restaurant, that'll give you something to look for, won't it? You can look back behind the line and see if they're cutting their meats on an appropriate board. And I'm absolutely sure that they will just love and adore you for doing that. Now, so you'll know how we can section down a chicken. This is very simple. I'm going to pull the parts apart, and I want all of this chicken. I want everything that is meat or skin. See how I break that leg back, pull the joint loose, and then just cut down through it, okay? So there I have my legs with the part of the back there. That nice. And then that wing, which stayed nice and tucked, I want to unhinge him at the top and bring my knife straight off through it. Isn't that beautiful? Take him again, pull him up so that it unhinges right down here, and then take your knife right back through it like so. Now, I'm going to pull this skin off so you can see this breast a little bit easier. And we're going to chop up that skin, as I mentioned. We're going to use it. Normally I'd want to keep it on the breast, so I would just cut right through it. But what I wanted to show you, all chickens at the neck here have a little bone that runs right through here. We call that the wishbone, okay? So if you don't want to cut through a wishbone, cut it from the butt side down here. There is cartilage that runs up the middle, and if I want to do a nice pretty job of this, just to the side of that cartilage, I will run my knife. And when I feel it hit firm area, I curve the knife outward slightly. Okay? Pulling a little, and there is our breast. Now, the other way, and since you're just going to be shredding this, so you'll know, I wanted to show you how to dissect the chicken. Just push your finger underneath the meat and pull it loose from the carcass, alright? And we're going to do that all the way around. All of this meat and skin on the back, every bit of it, I want it. Normally, you would be using a regular chicken to make enchiladas like this. However, these little things, they're so tender, so flavorful. Now there's that wishbone right there. Okay, I broke him. But there it is. See how we've worked all of that meat off around it? If you cut it from the back, you'll do that. Otherwise, you're going to have that bone in your meat to contend with if you cut it from the head end up here. Okay? Little tip for you there. Now, the carcass here, I can simply remove it. Sure on that. There we go. Skin's chopped up, and that's just flavor, pure flavor. Toss that white meat down in the juice first. Push the rest of this on top of it. Now, that juice that was down in the bottom becomes a natural hydrant and flavorant for this chicken. We're talking about nothing but pure chicken flavor here. Oh my goodness, that's delicious. Okay. Now let's move on to the next part. Now I have my chicken in a small oven at warming, and still in the same bowl, the same beautiful gravy that we pulled out of it. Now this, I'm just checking. Getting a little buildup on the bottom. I'm going to stir it with a whisk in a minute. It's starting to get thick where I want it to, but it's not quite there yet. It's looking very good though. So what I need to do is to taste it and see where we're at on this. That is wonderful. It's acidic. It's got a slight warmth to it. It's not like real fiery hot or anything. Beautiful. Bright. Fresh. It's everything a good green sauce should be right there. Nothing like a salsa verde. Nothing like a salsa verde. I need to take a moment to prepare some of the garnish that I'm going to be using And on this onion, I notice I still have a little bit of skin. There we go. I'll take that off. Now, what I want to do when I'm cutting my onion, as I showed you before, I don't want to interrupt that root end. So I'm going to take the top off again, make a simple light cut upward. Then this outer piece, you can see why. The first part looks nice, but over here, it's a little less than nice. And I would rather lose a little bit of good onion than to get anything bad in one of my dishes. So, there we go. Now from here, I want to have just some thin onion slivers that I can use on the side of the root. I'm going to put my knife there. I'm just going to cut down like so. And I'm going to use this part right here. And this part, I'm going to save it back. I can put it in a plastic bag and use it for some other dish. For this, I'm going to turn him around. And when I'm making thin cuts like this, as I showed you before, keep the fingers turned under. So when you're making your cuts, you can just slowly bring your fingers back. And on this, it's slick, so I can just keep them curved under and slowly slide them backward, like so. Put my thumb against the back end so that it doesn't slide backward. See? Now, let's take these, set them in the bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and break out a couple of other items, and we're going to take care of, take a moment to get those ready. And these are all items that we're going to be using in finishing up and making that dish look beautiful, our garnish. Now I have my queso fresco. I've cut a little wedge of it. The queso fresco is pretty much like a cross between mozzarella and ricotta. It's a Mexican cheese. It's firm and crumbly, sort of the way like feta would be. However, it's creamy the way mozzarella is. It's got some wonderful properties to it. And when it comes to topping a Mexican dish, if you want something authentic and wonderful, get you some queso fresco. Now our cilantro, we're going to treat it just a little bit different. All I'm going to do here is simply pick loose the leaves off of our stems. Okay. Now our garnish is taken care of. The items we'll be using, of course, are cilantro, cheese, and a little bit of yummy, yummy. Beautiful topping for an enchilada. We're getting close to being ready to make our enchiladas. First thing I want to do is to prepare my tortillas, my corn tortillas, so that they will be hot and soft. And the way to do this, one way, I'm going to put a little water in the bottom of this dish, and you notice I put a paper towel in there. And I want to take these, and in sort of a staggered formation, sort of like a spiral, and that just makes them easier to grab when you're reaching in to grab one out. There we go. Now I'm going to place another paper towel on top, and again, just sprinkle a little bit of water over the top. This is just something for evaporation to provide steam so that these will heat up properly. Alright, it looks like we have everything made, and pretty much all of our ingredients are assembled and ready to be put together into enchiladas. First thing I want is to show you this green sauce that we thickened. Now you see how this has a very even consistency now. It's a little bit smoother and more liquid than guacamole would be, of course, but not thin and watery the way it was earlier. So here we have a beautiful sauce, and this is going to be wonderful on top of these enchiladas. This is one of the best flavored enchiladas I know of. Now, something I mentioned earlier is you can do a sour cream sauce when it comes to enchiladas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of my salsa verde to a little sour cream. I'm just going to stir that in. Now, see how it turned nice and white? What I want to do is add just a little bit more. I'm going to add this in small amounts. Stir that. Do that again. And here what I have is a sour cream verde sauce. That's about half and half. I've got about a quarter to a third of a cup of sour cream in this, and about the same on the tomatillo sauce. And what this has produced is a sauce that is absolutely exquisite. If you want a sour cream chicken enchilada, do this right here, and you've got an absolute winner. Let me taste this guy. Oh, that's delicious. Absolutely sharp with acid, but at the same time creamy. It's got a little bite to it. That is a perfect topping for an enchilada. So we can go either this or the regular verde sauce, either way, on top of these enchiladas. Now, I've gone ahead and pulled the chicken out of the oven, and I was just keeping it in there on a warmer setting. And remember, we put this down in its own juices, so it's plenty moist, okay? However, and it's got that wonderful, wonderful roasted flavor. What I'm going to do, though, I'm going to add a little bit of this salsa verde to it. Not just a whole lot. I only want about 2, maybe 2.5 tablespoons of salsa. I'm going to mix that into it. And that way we just get a little bit of that flavor inside with the chicken. And now the chicken is ready to go down in our enchiladas. So at this point, it's just a matter of assembling the whole thing. We need a good clean plate. Open up my tortillas. Place some of the chicken on our corn tortilla. I'm going to give it a fold and a roll. I'm going to tuck that under as I do, very gently. Now on these, because I want it to go true blue, real Mexican style chicken enchiladas verde, these are going to have strictly a verde sauce across the top of them. And we're going to do, I'll do a separate plate with that sour cream sauce. I just wanted to show you how that was made so that you have a choice. Now, I'm going to overfill with a little extra sauce dropping down off the side over there. And the same thing across the fronts of these. You don't want the end of the enchilada to be devoid of any sauce. You want it to be completely coated from end to end. I'm going to give that a little shake. Kind of bring it down into shape. Beautiful. Now, very gently, I want to coat this with some of our other ingredients, like our sliced onion. I'm going to drop it from above here. Give it color, life, zest, and of course the wonderful flavor of cilantro. There we have it. Lovely. Chicken enchiladas verde. Well, I tell you what, this has been a neat experience, hasn't it? Chicken enchiladas verde. I tell you what, these wonderful little gems. Oh, I can't wait to cut into this. I'll tell you what, let me slice one of these open. Let you take a good look here. Now, look right up in this. Open there, our meat inside, beautiful. Oh, I tell you what, when it comes to chicken enchiladas, you're going to be hard-pressed, very hard-pressed, to find anything better than that. And you found it right here, okay? Give this recipe a try. You're going to be blown away when you do it. Oh, man, I can't wait to dig into the rest of this. My mouth is just watering for it now. Well, thank you very much for watching Texas Cooking Today. And please, subscribe. You have a good day. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.